Today I wanted to try something new. I'll be journaling along with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone chapters 1 and 2 for what I hope will become a nerdy new journaling series. Lately I've been getting requests for me to do a Harry Potter reread and also for me to share my journals with you. Since most of my journaling this year has been pretty personal, I thought it would be fun to start a new one on a topic that I feel more comfortable sharing with all of you. My goals with this series are to try new things, improve my skills, test out a different notebook with this $5 Artist Loft dot grid bullet journal from Michaels, and also have some interesting conversations about the Harry Potter series and maybe even other books in the future. I would love to get your input on this idea, so stick around until the end for that, but for now, let's get started with Chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived. So one of those skills I was hoping to improve with this project is my drawing skills, and because I don't really have any Harry Potter stickers or things that I can cut up and paste into this journal, I did a couple of little illustrations, first with pencil and then with the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pens, and I picked a couple of pieces of imagery that happen in this chapter that particularly stuck in my mind. One of them is Sirius Black's flying motorcycle, which Hagrid uses to take Harry to the Dursleys for the first time. And the other one is McGonagall as a cat reading a map, which is something that Vernon Dursley sees and thinks that he has made up in his head, which is pretty funny. So if you know me, you know that the Harry Potter series is really important to me as a human being. I just love it. I've been really involved in the fandom for many, many years. And so going back and rereading it from the beginning is something that I've been meaning to do for a while now. Typically when I reread the series, I do it out of order. I pick a specific book I want to revisit, or I want to revisit a particular moment because I want to write a Wizard Rock song about it or make a video about it or something like that. I don't remember the last time I actually started with Sorcerer Stone and just read all the way through the series. So we're gonna see how far I can get with this project. Maybe it'll hold me accountable, and I get to be a little bit creative in the process, and I hope that I can inspire you to do the same thing. So the way that I like to start my journaling spreads is to take the bigger elements like photos or drawings or stickers or something that I'm pasting into the pages and arrange them before I actually glue them down, just to kind of get an idea of how I want the whole thing to be laid out. Just to add a couple more things in here, I cut out a piece of this fake map. It's probably a map of a real place, but I don't know what it is. I got it in the scrapbooking section of a craft store. So I just cut out a little corner of this and I am sticking it under the drawing of the cat with the map. And once I've decided where I want everything to be and I've added some roll-on tape runner adhesive to the back of the pieces, I'm sticking them down and then I am free to start writing. So as someone who has read this series before, things are jumping out at me that probably were not jumping out at me the first time I read this book, and so I do think that that will be interesting to see what I noticed that I didn't notice before, or the things that I had actually forgotten about. Fair warning that this video and probably most of this series will include some spoilers for things that happen later in the series. So if you are avoiding spoilers or if you are reading this series for the first time, maybe go watch something else. And so the first thing that jumps out at me, and probably looks very different to me now that I have finished the series, is that very early on in this chapter, we get to spend a day with Vernon Dursley. Seemingly a normal day. He gets up, he leaves the house, he goes to work. But something is very off, and he's noticing this right away when he sees the cat reading a map on his street. And that is that this is no ordinary day. This is the day that you-know-who was defeated by baby Harry. We know how important this is as people who have read the entire series, but for someone who doesn't really know what's going on, just you notice that little things are off. And so does Vernon. He is trying so hard to not devote any thought whatsoever to the weird things he's seeing on the streets. And he can't help himself, but also you can tell that he just does not want to be upset about what he's seeing. He does not want to be fazed by it. He doesn't want anybody to think he's fazed by it, but he clearly is. And I wrote down this quote because I thought that it was really great, and it's not one that I typically hear very often. He hurried to his car and set off for home, hoping he was imagining things, which he had never hoped before because he didn't approve of imagination. During this day, he does overhear somebody saying what he remembers might be the name of his nephew. He doesn't even remember that his nephew's name is Harry. That's how far removed their families are at this point. But I just find it really interesting how we get a glimpse into the life of the Dursleys before Harry came to live with them. They skip right over this in the movies. And I have such a clear picture of everything that's happened in the movies, but I a lot of times forget some of the smaller moments that happen in the books. And so I'm glad that I'm doing this reread. Eventually, at the end of the day, the narrative shifts over to Professor McGonagall, who, of course, is the cat who's been snooping around their house for the whole day. And Dumbledore appears and comes over and is not surprised at the fact that she's there. There are a couple of cute little moments that I wrote down that I thought were kind of funny, especially knowing more about their characters than I did when I first started reading this book. One of them is that Dumbledore offers McGonagall a lemon drop, which he explains to her is a type of candy. Apparently it's not a wizarding candy, it's just a regular old muggle candy, and she declines because she didn't think this was the moment for lemon drops. Good old McGonagall, scolding people wherever she feels necessary, making sure her opinions are known, however subtly they may be. Dumbledore also says to her, "I haven't blushed so much since Madame Pomfrey told me she liked my new earmuffs." I find this one especially cute, knowing that Dumbledore is gay, so is this him mock flirting with McGonagall a little bit? I don't know. I think it's funny. And then Hagrid arrives with baby Harry, and it is our first glimpse at Hagrid taking care of Harry in the series. He's definitely somebody who has always looked out for Harry, however successfully or unsuccessfully that may be. But he's put in charge of delivering him to the Dursleys, and this is a huge job. Everyone in the wizarding world is talking about this, out on the streets, not caring which muggles are seeing them, and it's all put in Hagrid's hands. So I knew that rereading the Harry Potter series as a mother for the first time was going to be different, and this is the first moment where that really kicked in. They all seem pretty broken up about having to leave Harry with the Dursleys, given how awful they are. But Dumbledore thinks it's for the best, and so they kind of have to listen to him. There's this moment where they know they have to leave him, but they don't want to. And they all kind of sit there in silence watching him on this doorstep. They're about to abandon him with his family that maybe isn't so great. And then Dumbledore suggests that they go to join the celebrations. Seriously? Like, are you... what? I am not surprised knowing what Dumbledore puts Harry through later in the series, but I don't know. This is a lot. Especially knowing what Harry is put through next. But the chapter ends with a toast to Harry Potter, the boy who lived. Once I finished all of the writing that I wanted to do on my first page, I went back in and filled in some of the blank spots with some little illustrations, like a lemon drop candy and a little lightning bolt. And then I moved on to the next page for chapter 2, The Vanishing Glass. The drawing that I did for this page is a pan with some bacon in it because first thing in the morning on Dudley's birthday, Petunia wakes up Harry in his cupboard under the stairs because she wants him to help her make bacon for Dudley. So aside from giving us kind of a clear picture of what Harry's life is like with the Dursleys, this chapter has lots of fun stories about the ways Harry accidentally ended up using his magic before he knew that he was a wizard. I had remembered a bunch of these, but I forgot some of them, so I'm glad that I revisited this. They're pretty funny, especially knowing how upset that probably makes the Dursleys. They know that Harry could potentially have magical powers, and they hate it. So for them to have to deal with these things that keep happening to him when he is pretty oblivious to the whole situation just kind of makes me laugh. The one that I did remember was that Harry regrows his hair even when they give him awful haircuts. He wakes up the next morning and his hair is just back to normal, super out of control. And he also shrinks an ugly sweater of Dudley's so he wouldn't be forced to wear it. They're trying to pull it over his head and it just keeps getting smaller and smaller until it's impossible for it to fit on him. Pretty funny. He also managed to jump onto the roof of the school to escape from Dudley's gang. He just tries to jump into some trash cans and ends up on the roof, and he has no idea how. And he doesn't really question it. That's kind of a funny thing about kids, is that they just accept things as they are. This is the day that Harry ends up getting to go to the zoo with his family. They try their hardest to get him a babysitter, but Mrs. Fig's leg is broken, so she can't take him, and they end up having to bring him along, and he is so excited to get to go, finally. So this next realization is especially heartbreaking, I feel like. Harry, as a kid, actually tries to have conversations with his family. He pipes up and he contributes, and they always just shoot him down. I feel like got so used to Harry later in the series where he didn't even try to talk or relate to his family at all. But at this point, he does not know that he has this other life, and he doesn't have friends or other family to talk to. And so he pipes up from the back seat. He says, "I had a dream about a motorcycle. It was flying." Just, happy kid flying motorcycle in his dream, doesn't think anything of it, and Vernon gets really angry and yells, "Motorcycles don't fly." And Harry kind of thinks to himself, well, obviously, it was just a dream. Why are you getting so upset about it? And he just doesn't know. So when they get to the zoo, Harry's luck is just in abundant supply. He's already super lucky that he gets to go along on Dudley's birthday trip to the zoo, but he gets to eat ice cream twice. Once because the Dursleys didn't want to look like abusive jerks, and once because Dudley's wasn't good enough, and Harry got to eat the reject ice cream. And he is just living. He's so excited. I drew a couple of little ice cream doodles over here, first with pencil, and then I inked them in with the brush pen. Of course, eventually he gets in huge trouble. He makes the glass vanish, and the snake escapes and talks to him, and he's just really confused about what's going on, but his family really clearly knows what's happening, and they're not happy about it. Harry gets sent to bed without any dinner. He goes into the cupboard under the stairs, wakes up later, doesn't have a clock in there, so he doesn't even know what time it is, and he's just lying awake and thinking about what had happened and about his life. And there's this quote that I made a separate piece of paper for, and it's, "The Dursleys were his only family, yet sometimes he thought, or maybe hoped, that strangers in the street seemed to know him." You get, in this last little bit of the chapter, kind of a hope for the future, Harry imagining that there's something more to life than this. And, I mean, we know that he gets it, but he doesn't, and it's kind of wonderful to hear this, that he doesn't even realize how famous he is, and he's about to find out pretty soon. So I added some last final little details just to kind of tie this all together visually. I added some more of this washi tape and a couple little lines around the drawings with this teal pen that I was using earlier. I'm not really sure what the rest of this journal is going to end up looking like. I think I'm going to just test out some new things and not really worry about the way it looks, just kind of jump right in. And I think it's going to be a really good experiment, and I'm glad that I get to share the process with you. And these are my completed journaling pages for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, chapters 1 and 2. So, is this journaling reread series something that you'd like me to make more of? I'm thinking for now, I'll just take this a chapter or two at a time so I can concentrate on the process of journaling and not worry about coming up with ideas. But I haven't completely decided how to take this forward. So I would love your thoughts and suggestions. Should I do this with other books as well? I am, as always, terrible at naming things, but feel free to share if you have a catchy or punny name idea for this series where I do some creative journaling about the books I'm reading. If you like this format, let me know, and also I'd love to hear what you think about the moments in the book that I mentioned. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell if you haven't already. I make many kinds of nerdy and creative videos like this. I'm always looking for ways to combine my various interests, and I'd love for you to stick around for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.